Okay, welcome back to How to Hack Your Own SAT program. We're going to keep going into the deep dive into curriculum. Next is the writing section. So, Jason, let's first kind of just, again, same question as always related to curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
What should students know about writing and grammar kind of coming to this? I know we covered a little bit in the last video, but if you could just maybe just recap a little bit.
And one of the things we talked about is kind of saving some of the information from that video for this one because, again, you get one score for the evidence-based reading and writing, the verbal section, but it really is made up of two distinct things, a reading section and a grammar-based writing section, which is completely separate and different from the essay.
Yep.
So in terms of that, we did talk a little bit about that, but basic grammar is useful, and when you design your own program, once you get through the strategies and applying them, and you notice that students are struggling with particular grammar skills, then you can review those. But I would avoid falling into the trap of just teaching grammar. Now, so that leads us to what students really need, which is that evidence-based part of the title of the score, the section score, which is the ability to understand organization and structure in writing. What is a topic sentence? What is a detail sentences? The flow of information that you go through a paragraph. That's where students really struggle. And when you review that for the grammar-based writing section, you're also helping them when you get to the actual writing of the essay and writing in general.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. What is the area that students struggle with the most, though?
So that's what I meant. It's the organization part of it, understanding structure of the passage, and those are grammar questions. Now, I think that's where people get confused. Is that organization and structure is not about the student writing, although it is eventually. What it is those are question types in the grammar section. Those are multiple choice questions. I have some examples for that to talk about actually when we talk about strategy.
Well, let's go right into it. Let's talk about the strategies then.
So the strategies for the grammar section start out somewhat similar to the reading section because, again, it's a passage-based section. They give you 4 passages with 11 questions, some of which are straight-up grammar questions. You know, subject-verb agreement, verb-tense agreement, things like that. And students tell me, this is the feedback I've received from students, that those are the easier questions. The harder questions are about organization. So one question type is this weird type of question, and the strategy for defeating it is called the yes-no strategy. So let me give you an example. I'm back again in the official SAT study guide for the listeners at home in the podcast. I'm holding that up again. I'm in chapter 13, sample writing and language test questions of part 2, the evidence-based reading and writing. The passage is on pages 132 to 133, and I'm looking at question 8. The writer is considering deleting the underlined sentence. Should the sentence be kept or deleted? Now, the first thing you have to see is, what sentence are they talking about? Well, they're talking about a sentence in the passage. So if I look in the passage on page 132, there is a sentence that has a big 8 in a box, and right next to it is an underlined sentence. The question asks, that sentence, that underlined sentence, the author is considering deleting it. Should they do it? Yes or no? And so if you look at the 4 answer choices A and B start with the word kept. Answer choices C and D start with the word deleted. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, should the author keep it or delete it? And once I come up with that answer, I can eliminate 2 out of 4 answer choices.
Right.
All right. So what I want to do is go back and read not just the sentence, but I should probably read that entire paragraph. So notice how the student hasn't already read it. This is what's different from the writing and the reading section, is you're not expected to have read the passage first because it's not about content, not about details and information from the passage. You're not haystacking, like I said in the last video, where you're looking for needles and haystacks. Here you're just talking about grammar and organization. So content is less important.
So you can save time pretty considerably.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's why most students tell me that the one section they're never worried about running out of time on is the grammar-based writing section.
Oh, okay.
So you go back and you reread this, and the question you ask yourself, does this sentence make sense? In other words, what purpose does it serve? This is that evidence-based part. Does it belong in this paragraph? Does it give me information that's useful? Does it fit in with the other sentences? In other words, you're kind of playing that Sesame Street game, which one doesn't belong? You know, so it's really like that. And once you think of it that way, you're like, oh, that's not as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Does it belong or not? And if it does belong, then you're going to keep it. So let's pretend that, in fact, this one here, as you go through it, you'll notice that it doesn't really fit in this paragraph. So you're probably going to say delete it. Okay? That means I've eliminated answer choices A and B. Now I'm looking at the two choices deleted, and it gives me different reasons why. And this is the second step in the yes-no strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do I have to decide, yes, I should keep it, or no, I should delete it, but why? And the two reasons are going to be very different. And now that you've gone back and you've determined what purpose it was supposed to serve or why it didn't serve that purpose, then you can answer that. So you want to take it in separate steps.
Got it.
That is the yes-no strategy.
The yes-no strategy. Okay. All right, great. Okay, good. Anything else to writing?
Yeah, I mean, I think really understanding that grammar, straight up grammar, only accounts for about 45% of the questions.
Okay.
So
Only counts for 45% of the questions?
on the writing section, 55% of the questions are these organization type questions that I just went over.
Yep.
So if you focus too much on grammar instruction,
Yeah.
you're really underserving your students. And it's easy to do grammar instruction because teachers, especially English teachers, love good grammar.
Right.
I am a grammarian. I'm a grammar nerd. So I want students to use good grammar. I want to use good grammar myself,
Yeah.
but you can't fall into that trap. And that I keep bringing that up, but I've seen it time and time again with school-based programs
Yeah.
that they fall into that trap of just doing grammar content
Yeah.
rather than focusing on the strategy of how do I break apart this passage and find the answer I'm looking for.
Got it. Got it. Great. Excellent information. Cool. Well, so again, as always, if there's suggestions or feedback in terms of what you want us to see or what you want to see a little bit more of from a strategy perspective, we're happy to do that. If you have questions even how to access those strategy videos, like the yes-no strategy that Jason just talked about, feel free to leave a comment below and we'll show you where to go ahead and access those videos. And then the article right below as well. So hopefully, again, a lot of information. Thanks.